Hi, Peter Komsta, Head of Venture Partnerships at MBSN. Great to have you here today. Really excited to learn a little bit more about partnerships, the role that they play in the higher education system, the future of learning and work. But yeah, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Thanks for the opportunity. And we get to chat a lot in day-to-day to work, but it's good to have some focused time. So head of venture partnerships at Melbourne Business School in the new MBS and team, which in essence is our innovation hub for the future of work and learning. And it's a newish role. I started in this role kind of late last year, but it's ramping up in different ways, and it's also a great signal that the school is investing in increased partnership capability. So that's fantastic too.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously, Pete, you've been in partnerships in sort of different capacities in the higher education system for the better part of like the last decade. What role do partnerships play in the education ecosystem in unlocking new forms of value, and
Yeah.
how has that changed over time?
Yeah, I think partnerships have always been some sort of enabler. So, those partnerships, the relationships that a school or university has is definitely a key to engagement with customers, stakeholders, clients, etc. I think what's shifted is maybe it's more of a strategic lever now in the last sort of 5, 10 years. And if you think back, I think the first business school, EPCS, I think in Paris is 1819. I think that kicked off. So over 200 years of business schools in existence. But I think how universities or business school partner has evolved. So I guess initially would have been a lot of sort of partnership to explore new ideas and new theories and new models of business learning. Um, I think over time, what's shifted also is there's been a stronger focus on students as partners. And this was something that was prevalent probably about 10 years ago. There was a large focus on student experience and making sure there was strong retention and making students feel a sense of place, as well as, getting their voice out. So that sort of students as partners concept has been around for sort of 10 years or so. And I think the other thing that's sort of evolved as well is how universities and business schools commercialize research as well, and how that is solving societal problems. So we've got a Center for the Sustainability and Business in the business school, a Center for Business Analytics, and obviously that's the reason behind that is they're solving societal issues, sustainable business practices, data for decision making, etc. So business schools and universities have also sought to use partnerships to sort of make sure research has an impact in society. And probably the only other thing that I've seen emerge from a partnerships perspective is the growth of, I guess, industry partnerships. And traditionally, this has been to support kind of graduate attributes and graduate capabilities to make sure students or graduates are sort of work ready. So that's evolving as well. But I think zooming out of that for a second, and we can come to that in a separate question, but there is also this growth in platform business models as well. So big companies are realizing that their future business is probably going to come from one of their partners or one of their customer connections and networks. But as a sector, I think it's evolved through that sort of societal challenges, students as partners, industry partnerships. I've seen it sort of evolve, and even now it's getting even more exciting with ventures and things that we're exploring in the business school as well.
Yeah, so this concept of like innovation within the corporate sector is establishing new ventures, but innovation is like an emerging skill set is sort of becoming more and more normalized within the corporate world and the world of business. How has your understanding of like innovation evolved through the beta incubator program we've been running? And
Yeah.
what do you think that means in a corporate context and specifically as it relates to partnerships?
Yeah, it's a great question, Alex. And I think I often reflect on the point that innovation is, in essence, is a new way of doing things. And if you keep it at that level, it is innovating processes, it's innovating how we think about new ideas, how to prototype, how to test ideas, how to experiment, how to bring disruptive voices into your thinking. So I think it's a new way of doing things in general. I think through the incubator, we've been very focused, and we've had great response from learners and organizations, because it's also seen as a place to start to experiment what a new method of learning or a new product, a new future of work or learning product may look like. So one, it's overall a new way of doing things and new way of operating, but two, it's creating a space for individuals and organizations to experiment and explore and test new ways of thinking, new models of learning. So that's kind of evolving a little bit and has evolved through the incubator, because if you recall, 10, 11 weeks ago, we were ideating problems. We were just thinking, are these problems, these problem statements valid? Do they resonate with different individuals? And then we're starting to prioritize and look at towards solutions and prototypes. So it's evolved in that sense as well. But I think that broad statement is a new way of doing things, and things may be processes, how we engage with people, how we sort of bring different voices into our ecosystem, but also it's about a place to experiment and explore and really unlocking a bit of a growth mindset and a curiosity as well, not just for us, but for those who we engage with. That's been great to see.
Yeah, and for me personally, like as I have been processing the understanding of innovation, a lot of it's been sort of a direct focus on the customer and really sort of servicing the customer, listening to what they have to say. Do you find that partnerships are heading in that direction as well, like an increased focus on the customer, and how does that play out when you're looking at new opportunities with businesses to partner together?
Yeah, it has, Alex. And I think what I said earlier is, universities and business schools, for hundreds of years, and in the case of university, for thousands of ideas, have been this kind of place of thought and leadership and new ideas. And as we've sort of in the last 10 or 20 years, we've tried to bring in schools and universities have tried to bring in different voices to, talk about new ideas. But I think what's happening at a macro level, organizations are starting to sort of realize that there is a new business model, which is a platform business model, which is, a suite of partners solving different purposes, on selling, reselling, providing leads, etc. So that it's obviously exists in our society and our sort of business world. But the other thing that's interesting, even in the last year or so, I've seen a lot of new chief partnership officer roles being stood up across organizations, and largely in SaaS, software as a service type organizations. But if you think about what and thinking about this chat today, I sort of looked at. I won't mention the organization or the person, but I looked at a profile of a chief partnership officer, and obviously leading strategy for strategic accounts, and really focusing on who are the organization's strategic accounts, client engagement and satisfaction, supporting and building alliances, maintaining customer relationships, building deep relationships, and relationships I'll come back to in a minute. But also client satisfaction and validating customer needs. I think this is a key capability that is emerging in senior partnership leaders as well as chief partnership officers in big companies. So they've identified the need to sort of manage relationships, manage pipelines, business pipelines, strategic accounts, etc., alliances, relationships, etc. But to your point, validating customer needs is a core role of a partnerships team or leadership capability, because you're trying to sort of get ahead of the curve and understand what customers may want in the future. So it's not just about bringing them on later on as a sort of maybe on seller or reseller of your products, but bringing them in earlier. And we were sort of flabbergasted by the response from clients, customers, community members in the incubator, because they are happy to be part of this journey with us. And for us, it's that validating what are customer needs, what are the problems that organizations are facing. So I think that will continue to emerge, that validating partnerships, teams or roles playing a greater role in validating customer needs. I think that will continue to grow.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of like partnerships sort of coming together over, having those conversations, like how can we both work together to better service the customer? And I can definitely see that as being a key driver to unlocking like meaningful partnerships moving forward. But from your perspective as the head of venture partnerships at MBS End, how are you looking to approach partnerships as we come to the close of the beta incubator?
Yeah, I think there's a few principles, and I've shared this with you, but for the benefit of listeners. So from the onset, we needed to think about partnerships in MBS and through a different lens. And that lens traditionally may have been academics, clients, maybe learners. We had to expand that sort of focus to also include education disruptors, startup community, um, learning pioneers, L&D people, um, innovators themselves, startup communities, etc. So I guess for me, when I think about partnerships and how we will achieve what we need to do for the beta incubator program and other vehicles, it's looking at making sure we've got the right people, so diversity of people, looking at the process and how we actually engage people. Is that process simple? Is it agile? Is it responsive to needs? Purpose is critical as well. So why are we exploring a partnership with a potential organization or a community? It's because there might be a mutual benefit or a shared value being created. And the last one is, or the second last one, is partnership experience. How do we make sure the people we engage with have a great experience with MBS but also, does that unlock other things? Does that unlock other conversations, other insights, other connections to other stakeholders? So partnership experience, just like, learner experience or user experience, I think we'll see more of that in and around the business community. But for us, it's that people, process, a purpose, partnership experience. And even more recently, I've been starting to think about place as also an additional kind of partnership, I guess, pillar. And the reason that's important, that in Australia, as an example, there's a various innovation sort of hubs, entities, efforts in different states and in regions. So if you look at APAC as a sort of, innovative region at the tip of the innovation spear globally of where new ideas are coming through and where the shifting powers of the APAC region are. But even within Australia, there are communities, different cities, and Melbourne is a great edtech hub. Sydney might be more focused on fintech. And I'm not saying that edtech cannot exist in Sydney or vice versa, fintech here, but we can't underestimate the importance of place in partnerships as well, because people are building out their communities based on where they live and where their institution is or where their organization is, and then are looking at maybe other hubs and other pockets of innovation that are happening. So I think that will also emerge, that kind of place-based knowledge to feed into a broader partnership conversation. So people, process, purpose, partnership experience, and place, I think, will play an increasing role. For MBS, as an example, we will continue to strive to be the leading business school in the country, but with a broader focus on the APAC region in the future. So that's kind of exciting. And what role does the school, our business school, the MBSN team, and our partners play in the APAC region? That kind of interests me from a place perspective as well.
Yeah, cool. I love it. And if I could just add in a sixth P there, it would be Pete. So
Thank you.
The 6 Ps of partnership.
You might need to change your name to a P as well, Alex, so we can
have
something else.
But yeah, no, that sounds great, Pete, and really interesting to hear your take on partnerships, how they've evolved, the role that innovation plays, and helping to drive new forms of partnership, and also how MBSN is thinking about partnerships moving forward. So, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I hope I've answered your questions, Alex. And yeah, great questions, and look forward to hearing more from our existing and potential partners. And I'll just end with a kind of call to action that we've got 300 plus individuals that are engaged in some way, shape, or form in our ecosystem, and 150 of them very actively involved in the incubator program. And now we are going to be going to actually building some ventures and focusing on that. So we will be inviting our ecosystem players and contributors to be part of that journey. So I look forward to further conversations. And thank you, Alex.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to seeing how they all play out. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate your time.
Everyone.
And I'll see you in the office tomorrow.
Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, Pete. Bye.